Welcome everyone to our Blue Zone sessions today. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this session today and also to welcome Patty DeVries, who is our speaker. Patty may be familiar to some of you. She has led a few different series that we have offered over the years. She does a wonderful job in engaging everyone, and so I'm looking forward to this interactive session that is focused on purpose as one of the powerful aspects of Blue Zone environments. Patty comes to us as the Chief Experience Officer at Living Well USA. She might say a little bit more about that. In the past, she has been a director of wellness at Stanford University. She has a strong athletics background, went to Stanford as an undergrad with a full athletic track scholarship. She was a 9-time NCAA All-American, and she competed in the 1988 Olympic trials. She has been a wonderful colleague to spend time with over the years through many programs that we've offered here, as well as conferences. And so I know that you will enjoy what Patty shares in regards to purpose. This very much feels like your passion, Patty, and so it's great that we get to have you speak today. Please make sure that you note your attendance on our attendance sheet. As usual, I will be sending the recording out later along with Patty's slides. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Patty.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I always love being part of your programs. You do a beautiful job. And every time I experience you interacting with the wellness program attendees and all of you, it just makes me really, really happy. So thank you so much for including me in this. So we are going to talk about the blue zones and the power of purpose. Before we get started, I just want to ask each of you to just sit comfortably for a moment and relax, maybe close your eyes and just listen for 30 seconds to the silence. I want you to just feel your body as I read this short little verse. You're so hard on yourself. Please take a moment, sit back, marvel at your life, at the grief that has softened you, at the heartache that has wizened you, at the suffering that has strengthened you. Despite everything, you still grow. Be proud of this. Each of you are here today, and you're here today in an idea to continue to grow in your life. And I'm very proud of each of you and thankful because every time you grow, every time you create a new skill, I believe you change the world for the better. So some of you who have taken my courses before have seen this video. And I ask that you, if you've seen it before, that you look at it with fresh eyes. For me, I have seen this hundreds of times, and each time something else stands out to me. As I broaden my awareness, as I get to fully shape my world and my life and my brain patterns, I see things a little bit differently. If you're seeing it for the first time, just sit back, absorb it, hear what it has to say, and enjoy the content. It's about 4 minutes, and we'll get it started.
Location, location, location. Brought to you by the Conscious Leadership Group. Find them on the web at www.conscious.is. Animation by Graham Franks. www.grahamfranks.com. One question that conscious leaders ask themselves over and over is, where am I? To support leaders in locating themselves as they ask the question, where am I? We offer this tool, a line, a simple black line. At any moment, all leaders and all people are either above the line or below the line. Our location describes how we're being with what is occurring in our life right now. If we're above the line, we are open, curious, and committed to learning. If we are below the line, we are closed, defensive, and committed to being right. Stop right now and simply ask yourself, where am I? In this now moment, am I above the line or below the line? Typically, when people are below the line, they believe certain things about the world. For example, they believe there is not enough. It could be that there's not enough money, or time, or space, or energy, or love. People below the line also believe that their story about the situation is right. People below the line also believe that there is a threat out there. Something or someone is threatening their desire for approval, control, or security. And people below the line see the situation as serious. The deeper below the line they are, the more serious things look. People below the line tend to behave certain ways as well. They tend to cling to an opinion, find fault and blame, gossip, explain, rationalize and justify, get overwhelmed, and avoid conflict or pursue conflict for the sake of winning. When people are above the line, they believe that learning and growing are more important than being right. They believe that all people and circumstances are their allies, here for their growth. They believe that from a distance, almost everything is funny. People above the line live in curiosity, listen deeply, speak unarguably, question all their beliefs, and live a life of play. Now, knowing what you know about being above or below the line, where are you? One thing to know as you consider this question: we are hardwired to go below the line. Literally, our brain is programmed to perceive threat, and when it does, a chemical cocktail courses through our veins, and we go below the line. This reaction was designed to help us survive in the presence of a real threat to our physical survival. An issue for modern-day leaders is that often our brains can't tell the difference between a threat to our physical survival and a threat to our ego or identity. We react and get defensive when we experience a threat to our ego. So in many ways, being below the line is natural and normal. But when we are below the line, we're not in a state, literally brain state, of high creativity, collaboration, innovation, and relational connection. We're simply trying to survive. Leaders today can't thrive if they're in survival mode. So the first activity of conscious leadership is location, location, location. In this now moment, where am I? Telling ourselves and others the truth about our current location begins the great conversation.
So with that video, I want to put us all into a place where we know we want to be, which is above the line, in a state of openness, in a state of creativity, as we begin to go down a path of seeing our potential and our purpose wherever we may be in our lives. What I want to do is start out, and I want to give you an idea as you think about the above and below the line. When we're above the line, we're in a place of gratitude and creativity, and we're in a place of peace. When we're below the line, we're in a place more of fear-based and defensiveness. So I want to ask you a question as we get started and we start to think about our purpose in life and how to align what we do with how we feel. And so I'd like you, if you would, to use your phone. You can either use the square in the corner, the QR code, or you can go to menti.com. And we're going to use this. So once you go ahead and use this, what I'd like you to do is to keep it open. So don't close it once you've done this, because we're going to use it a couple of times today. So you can either go to menti.com using the QR code, or you can go to menti.com. This will be the only time you have to do it, as long as you keep it open, because we'll use the same code. So as we talk about how we want to feel more often relaxed, and it looks like a few of you want to feel more relaxed in your world, more joyous, more confident, more centered, more inspired. Keep the words coming. It'll help us all to get calibrated to how we want to feel as we show up every day. We want to feel thin and mindful. Agile, I would say, is thin, is part of that. Brave, mindful, loved, peaceful, confident. Some of the words I'll say a few more times as we think about how we want to feel in our lives. Authentic, calm, supported, content, hopeful, accomplished. All these words are great. Some of them are, keep them coming. You can just keep those coming. Relax seems to be a really nice one in the middle, that we are looking to feel relaxed in our life, confident, happy. I love all these words. Thank you. feel free to add some more to it as we continue on. What I want you to test out today, now that we're in this place, hopefully above the line, we're curious. I'm really pleased that all of you are here, willing to learn and open your mind to the possibilities of making a shift from who we are, meaning what we do, what our titles are, to how we want to feel each day. How do we want to wake up in the morning? How do we want to go to bed at night? How do we want to feel throughout the day? We are the most evolved creatures on the planet. And the things that we design, the things that we do, the things we curate and put together in our homes are meant to help us feel more of all of these things. I don't see anything here that's not above the line, in a place where we are growing, we are learning, we're experiencing all that life has to give us. These look like and please speak up if someone sees something that would be a below the line type of thing. But from here, what I'm hearing is that most of us want, or all of us want to feel in a place that we are above the line, feeling good in our body, feeling joyous and energetic, relaxed, happy, peaceful, and in love. So I love seeing all these things. So keep these in mind as we go through your day and put your top 3 to the side somewhere. Keep in mind how you want to feel on a day-to-day basis as we go through this presentation. So I'm going to share a little bit about my story. Thank you, Elizabeth, for sharing some of my resume. But what I'm really proud of in my life is the work I've done on myself, on my inner world. When I experienced COVID in 2019, I had just had back surgery. And when I came back to work and got sent back home after my disability from my back surgery, I didn't get physical therapy. So I went out to the forest. I went out to parts of the land that I hadn't ever experienced because it was considered unusable land down the hillside. I spent much time down there getting to know the seasons, getting to know the land much more deeply. I spent time clearing weeds after weeds, pulling weeds for hours and hours every day. I would say hundreds of hours over the course of the last 4 years. I've pulled weeds, I've created trails. I've listened to books on tape that have really influenced the way I see the world and opened my awareness to the possibility of seeing my life in a little bit different way. And again, you'll see these slides. I'm happy to share them with you if any of these books are of interest to you. I started to see my life not as a series of check marks on my resume, but in terms of how my body flows, my experience flows, in terms of finding things in my life that help me be in this middle ground between boredom, where I've got too little to do and my mind isn't engaged, and unsafe and anxiety producing. And found that when I find a place of flow, my life tends to go better. My relationships tend to go better, that I'm engaged in a whole new way. And I started to see my life in this way of finding how I can create a life where I'm in this constant state of finding my creativity, experiencing life in a way that represented relaxation, creativity, all of those words that you all shared from being above the line and how you want to feel more in life. It started in a way of wanting to feel better about my life. I knew that my resume looked good, but yet I was still discontent. I wasn't feeling the joy in my life. So I put together a vision board, not what I wanted, not on the milestones I wanted to accomplish, but how I wanted to feel in my life, connected, worthy. I love this quote by Helen Bonham Carter. I think that everything in life is art. What you do, how you dress, the way you love somebody, and how you talk, your smile and your personality, what you believe in, and all of your dreams, the way you drink your tea, how you decorate your home or party, your grocery list, the food you make, how your writing looks, and the way you feel. Life is art. And it gave me an idea that life could be different than what I experienced earlier. I built over 450 stairs on our property to give me access to nature, to give me access to the forest so that I could get to know it more deeply. I started to clear land. I started to clear the weeds, and I started to make improvements to the land so that I and others could start to experience nature at its very best more often. I started to discover wildlife and the plants and the wild mushrooms that grow on the property, that I had been there for a full 16 years and never seen some of the things that the forest offered outside. These beautiful things that I'd never seen before. I started to notice the wildlife, the smallest of birds. I started to put a camera down at the pond to catch the wildlife as it came around. And again, for 16 years, I had lived in on this property and never noticed most of the things around me. I started paying attention to the hummingbirds and giving them hummingbirds water. And now I feed them about 15 cups of sugar water a day. I'm traveling right now to see my daughter, and my husband's feeding them. He's making the sugar water, and we're keeping them happy on the property. I took time to slow down when I was on the property and to take a look at nature and all that nature has to give us. I understood through the books I was reading that soil can be an antidepressant, and just the smell of soil can bring all of these wonderful benefits just by being out in nature. And so I started walking even more. I started spending more time in nature to start to understand the way the world works and how nature itself is so incredibly, perfectly imperfect. As I started to rethink my purpose, I realized that the bees don't know what the word purpose is. They don't have to be taught how to pollinate the flowers and the trees. They didn't need to be told they need a guiding point. They didn't need to be told that they can put the pollen in their little hind sacs and carry them from flower to flower. They simply knew it from what was in their DNA. The acorn doesn't need a blueprint. It has it in its DNA. It doesn't need to be told. It just needs to be in the right environment for an acorn to flourish and to become an enormous oak tree. That is written in its DNA. The problem is, if there is a problem, is that we as people, even though we have DNA that has been masterfully, beautifully changed and evolved over the last 8 million years, 8 billion years, that we as people still will question our purpose, that we will wonder what we're here for. And it's only because we have the ability to critically think. We again are so evolved that we can start to question why we're here. We can question each other. We can question ourselves, and we can bring doubt and fear into the equation. We are meant to live a life of safety and creativity above the line, and yet so often we allow ourselves to find a different path. Since the prehistory, we can see the evolution and all the technology that has been created. This graph ends in 1990, and we know what technology has done since then. We know as we go across time that we have gone from being nature-based people to now fully saturated in technology. My great-grandmother came here from Norway in the 1800s, and they had no technology. They had very little. They had to travel, and they had very little else. And since that point in time, all of the technology that has happened, my great-grandparents were farmers. They farmed for a living, and they were very hands-on and in the dirt. But as time has gone by, we are more disconnected from our natural state of being with the earth. And so I've gone through a lot of information so far, and yet I haven't touched on where we're starting from, which is really the blue zones. And you have been talking about the blue zones for the past many weeks. And I appreciate all of the information that has been collected about these beautiful zones where people live much longer than average. We are talking today about the Power 9, but we're going to blend those in. I've taken a little liberty with the Power 9 because I see things in a tiny bit different way. But today we're going to focus on purpose. We're going to talk a little bit about the downshifting, I know that you've talked already about the 80% rule and the plant slant and gathering at 5. That's the one I changed a little bit because I know a lot of people struggle with alcohol. And so I simply changed it from the wine being the focus to the gathering being the focus because I believe that's really important. And for the non-drinkers among us, having that gathering is what I believe is really important. Having the right tribe, the loved ones around us, the sense of belonging and the ability to move naturally is all part of that. I love looking at these 5 areas and for their reason of being, whether it is the value in life, the life plan, the thought of a legacy of what you're going to leave for others, or this idea of love and this momentum going forward, which is what it translates to as a lover of horses. And also from Loma Linda, that there's more of that reason for being is to build that trust, the belief, the confidence, and then having an act of service with others. All of these 5 areas focus on a reason for being. They're less concerned, from what I'm seeing, about the technology, about the absorption in technology. They have more of a distance from technology, and their purpose is more confined and more related to how they show up in life rather than their resume. I loved the quote by the elder who said that my reason to get up each morning is to care for my plants, and they care for me in return. I don't see a lot of that in the general population I get to experience. And I love this. I'm starting to see it in my life. These are the plants in our orchard at Living Well. My husband now has made it his life mission to nurture these plants, to care for their plants. And I'm seeing the change it's making in him as he is spending more time in nature. What I found really inspiring about the blue zones is that in these 2 areas, 80 to 90% of these people can immediately name their why, not as their job description, not as their title, but as a healer or a guide or a family anchor. They see it as a societal role. That is the mission and the purpose for so many of these people who live to a ripe old age, that they have found meaning in their lives in a way that impacts others in such a positive way. What I've seen through the blue zones are these beautiful golden threads. In Okinawa, they talk about purpose as that which gives life worth living. They have morning rituals that are tied to family and nature and crafts, of a sense of building and creating. And there's that clear calling helps lower stress and boost immunity. The golden threads I saw in Costa Rica was a lifelong roadmap of service to family, community, and land, that even simple tasks are made to feel deeply meaningful. And this will also shield us against midlife drift when we make things meaningful. In Sardinia and Icaria, the purpose is born in service. Whether they're shepherding, whether they're farming, whether they're mentoring others, it's done in social service. And I love that the grandparents and the grandchildren tend to teach each other, build the identity and build the resilience together, that there is time for that. I was chatting with Elizabeth before the class, and I'm finding this new depth of meaning with my grandchild who's 10 months old in a way I was not able to experience my own children because of the social structure and the work that I needed to be done when they were little. As I look at Loma Linda, I love that their daily habits are shaped by their spiritual convictions. They tend to rest, they diet together, they are in service to one another. And they also define themselves as a healer or a guide that helps them create a true north for their own decisions, much more so than a resume, I believe, ever could. So how does that work in my world? So here I am, and my work is often cutting down trees, clearing the land, having to clean everything in sight, weed whacking. And I could complain about my task list because my task list is long, except I've adopted a way of looking at my life in a very different way. I clear land and I make space for healing. I clear the space. I clean my kitchen. I even do my dishes because it beautifies the space and makes it an opportunity for the next guest to arrive. I don't do tasks. I create a beautiful space and world for myself. And in that way, I see those blue zones. I understand what the blue zones are doing. They're creating meaning in the mundane. They're creating meaning in the little things because it's not the little things that we have to do. It's the big, beautiful picture that we get to create for ourselves. So I want you to take a minute and think of 3 words that describe you at your best. We're going to take a step towards finding more within your purpose. For those of you who already know your life's purpose, this will enhance it. For those of you who are struggling to find your life purpose, my hope is that you will be able to get some golden nuggets for yourself in this exercise. This is the first step. So for those of you, you're at the same one, it should go right to the next one to be able to enter 3 words that describe you at your best. So I pre-populated a couple of my best words, but I'm seeing others put in confident, creative, happy, persistent, loving, resilient. Yes, all of these things. Beautiful. Happy, creative, calm, caring, brave, uplifting, full of humor. Yes. Empathetic. Please feel free to add some more. Who are you at your best? And nobody's going to know who put this down, so brag a little bit. Please, just brag a little bit. Put some words in there that you know you are at your best. What are some specific words that when you show up on any given day and it is the best of you, what is that? Helpful, beautiful, inspired, calm, you're a friend, you're helpful, persistent. All of these words, keep them coming. You can do as many words as you want and pick your favorites. Part of the reason we do this is so you can see these beautiful words, all of these words. And again, I haven't seen any that would be considered below the line in a state of fear. So I'm looking at all of these knowing that we're in that state above the line. We're confident, we're grateful, we have everything at our hands. And we have access to creativity with it all. Beautiful. So thank you for that. We're going to come back to that so you can certainly add to it. The next thing we're going to do is take 3 words. So some of you may have put more than 3 words on this, but I want you to think of the 3 words. And I want you to first take a piece of paper, whatever piece of paper you have. I'm going to give you a minute to find a piece of paper, back of some piece of paper, whatever you'd like. And I'd like you to draw 3 concentric circles on a piece of paper, like I've written here. Just draw the circles, and in the very middle circle, I want you to write at least 3 words that describe you at your best. 3 words are fine. You don't have to do more than that. But if you could write 3 words in the middle of that describe you at your very best. And again, don't be shy. Thank you, Sylvia, for sharing it here. Humor, loving, and empathetic. Beautiful. Francine, creative, motivated. Those are so good. Thank you. Appreciated, valued. And I love the call out. Grateful for the support of the lab team. Thank you, George. Great coworkers. Love all of these. Thank you. So thank you, all of you, for doing that. Hopefully all of you were able to find a little piece of paper and a pencil, and we're going to go forward from that. I want you to sit with that. Those can change. Think about who you are at your best and remember that for a moment. I love this quote by Emily McDowell. She has a card line, M and Friends, and I'm just going to read it for a moment. Finding yourself is not really how it works. You aren't a $10 bill in last year's winter coat pocket, and you're also not lost. You're right. Your true self is right there, buried under a cultural conditioning other people's opinions, and inaccurate conclusions you drew as a kid that became your beliefs about who you are. Finding yourself is actually returning to yourself, an unlearning, an excavation, a remembering who you were before the world got its hands on you. Sit with that for a moment as you think about who you are and getting to know yourself, because I've come to a belief that my purpose, and possibly your purpose too, is to get to know ourselves so well that we get to show up as our best much more often. If you're struggling in any way to find your top 3, I'm going to encourage you to even take a picture of this, to start thinking of things as you get to know yourself. If you don't know yourself, if you didn't readily know 3 things that represent you at your best, go into a deep dive. Think about what your core values are. Think about those things that are non-negotiable in your life. I want you to get a really good sense of who you are and how you want to be in your life, what's important to you, so that you can show up in your best and live your purpose. The work by the Gallup organization tells us when we know ourselves, when we use our strengths, and we have to know our strengths in order to use them most often, but when we know what our strengths are and we use them every day, we're 3 times as likely to report having an excellent quality of life and 6 times as likely to be engaged in our jobs. Now, again, those may be specific skills for your job, but oftentimes they have more to do with who you are as a person. When we use our signature strengths, research has shown by AuthenticHappiness.org is that our happiness levels will go up when we start to use our strengths, and our depressive symptoms will go down. And whether it's the Gallup organization Strengths Finder or even via Character Strengths, you will be able to learn much more about yourself and start using your skills and your tools in a much more confident way. This is a free Strengths Finder it's not Strengths Finder. This is a free Via Character strength assessment at viacharacter.org. And you can find this on their webpage just at the beginning in the front. And it's a free assessment, and it will give you a rundown of your strengths in terms of character strengths. This gives you the 34 that are available to you to understand about yourself. For me, one of the things that makes a lot of sense when I took this assessment was that my number 1 strength is appreciation for beauty and excellence, which tells me how important my environment is and how much I love being around beauty and nature. The Gallup Strengths Finder, if you were to take that one, and it also helps to get to know yourself a little bit, it will give you one of the 34 strengths, and it breaks it down into strategic, executing, relationship, or influencing domains. And so if you're looking for a way to really start to understand yourself better, get to know yourself at a deeper level, these are just tools for you to be able to do that. Another way you can help to get you to know yourself a little bit better, a few years ago when I was trying to understand my purpose and my mission, and I was struggling, as I sent an email to several of my closest friends asking for them to send me what they thought were 3 words to describe me. And I sent it to about 20 people, and it was really insightful for me at a time where I needed a little bit of guidance from other people so that I understood how I was seen to the rest of the world. It helped me go inside once I got some information from the outside. So once you're at your best, and again, if you don't have a strong conviction for the 3 words you have and you're still searching, try out some of the tools that I shared with you. Now, this next step is I want us to look at the habits and mindset that can help us stay our best. So now that I've discovered that at my best, I am kind, I am creative, and I'm energetic, I can start to think about what habits and which mindset help me to stay centered and aligned to be kind, creative, and energetic. Now, for me, I have lots of tools that I use. For me to stay centered, I take time in nature. I need movement. I certainly need sleep. It's not on this list, but sleep, I will tell you, is one of the ones that are really big for me and impactful. If I'm tired, I am not my best. If I am if I've eaten a lot of sugar, I'm not at my best because I tend to have a downswing. And so my toolbox consists of all those things that can help me stay my best. And what I'm going to ask each of you to do now is you're going to go to the same place. If you go back to your phones, it should have shifted. And I'm going to ask you to share a habit or a mindset that helps you stay your best. What is something that if you do today, tomorrow you're going to be feeling pretty good or better than you might have? What are some of the habits or mindsets that can help you be your best on a day-to-day basis? Walking the dog with your partner, wonderful. Exercising, good. Couple exercises there, I love it. Starting every day doing something for me, yes. Especially when my kids were little, I would get up an extra half hour early and I would savor that little bit of time together. 3 good things, it's an exercise, yes. Writing 3 good things down each day, perfect. We'll scroll through eating well. 5 a.m. club, yes. Love that morning time. Reading a book, praying, doing a bit of any of the many crafts. Good for you to know that. Logging gratitude, wonderful. Keep those coming. What I would like each of you to do is to put in that second circle some of those things that you know help keep you centered. Some of those things that will help you show up your best more often. Now, as you're thinking about those things, I want to bring in a little bit of research by Sonia Lyubomirsky. And I love her research because what she tells us is that our current circumstances are really only 10% of our happiness. Our genetics account for 50% of it, but our thoughts and actions, those habits, those thoughts, those account for 40% of our happiness. And so when we start to think about those things, those thoughts and those actions, those habits, that mindset that keeps us centered, this becomes more and more impactful. Sonia goes on to say that even when a huge event happens, and she looked at 2 groups of people. She looked at a group of people who won the lottery and another group of people who had become paralyzed. And which she found is within 6 months to a year after the incident, either a really good incident or a really life-changing bad incident, that we resort and revert to the exact same happiness level we were before the incident. So if our habits, if our day-to-day interactions, if our day-to-day purpose is important and we live it every day, then we become the same person. We stay the same person regardless of a huge circumstance in our life that we might think will change it. But our daily interactions, our daily choices, our daily habits are what really make us who we are. It's not that once in a lifetime thing that's going to change for us, but instead it's those things we choose to pay attention to on a day-to-day basis, those habits. And so as you think about those habits and the mindset, think about those things that can help keep you centered. My hope is that you will make this a pretty something you could even do in PowerPoint where it can be a motivation for you. Put the words around it, looking to those things. If you see that second circle of habits and mindset of more of a protective barrier, a protective space that keeps you your best more often. When I have movement, connection, I get enough sleep, I'm curious, I'm grateful for everything I have, and I spend time in nature, then I can show up kind, creative, and energetic more often. And I know that when I show up kind, creative, and energetic, the world seems to welcome me in the most beautiful ways. So we're going to move to the next one, which is supportive people and activities. Your support team. Who are those people who are there for you? Who are those people that you can count on to, again, help to nudge those habits and help you focus on those things that bring joy? And we go back to the note. Who are those things as you share with others? Who are the uplifting people in your life? Maybe a significant other, a best friend, a coworker. Maybe the activities, again, are going to church or meeting friends after work for a walk. What are those things? Your family, your friends, yes, coworkers, spouse, children, quality time, your coworkers, your accountability partner. Love all of these. Yes. And what might you do with some of these people? Because we're finding these uplifting people. What can we do with them that uplifts you and your children? What uplifts you and your spouse or you and your dog even? I heard one of you wrote earlier that when you take your dog for a walk, that's a good way to start the day really well. Doing hobbies, yes, uplifting people with hobbies. Imagine putting these all together. Many of you I've seen, you have crafts that you like. There are things that you like to do. Imagine putting those together and sharing your hobbies with a friend or children or a coworker or other people in your world that would benefit from your knowledge and the crafts and the skills that you've been putting together. I love all these things. They're all beautiful, uplifting people and activities that you can share with them. Wonderful. And each of these people, to put these people in your life, again, is a protective barrier. You've got you at your best. You've got that habit and the focus that can help keep your world aligned, to help you show up better more often. And again, I believe in my heart of hearts that when each of us show up our best, the world lights up for us because we then impact the world in those beautiful ways. So the last piece of this is going to be the let it go place. So what is it that you may want to let go of? Now, for me, I now drink very, very little alcohol. It may be a sip at my son's wedding or a toast someplace. I'm not going to have it. I don't have a rule against it. But what I've learned from me with alcohol is that it drains my energy. It shifts how I show up. It is a depressant, so that makes a lot of sense. But for me, that's the one thing I'm willing to let go of. I'm willing to let go of a need to control other people. Those are some of the things that for me, I'm choosing to let go of. And so here we can look at that, except it didn't go through. So I'd like you to put in the chat something that you are willing to let go of in order for you to show up centered, in order for you to look at your life in this balanced, beautiful way, and to let go of those things that would throw you off balance. So go ahead if you would. I don't want you to put anything too personal there that you're not comfortable with, but if you're willing to put some things there that you are willing to even nudge a little bit, to maybe just limit a little bit. Wonderful. Clutter. Yes, clutter. Worrying. Yes. And worrying, the opposite side of that is to have peace, to let go of a need for control, for managing stress, how you eat, limit sweets. And again, sometimes it's easier to say, I'm going to drink more water because that by and large keeps you from drinking other things, right? And so if we're limiting sugar, the positive of that is I'm going to eat more fruits, drink more water, have more lettuce, sleep more, love it. Reduce desserts, reduce junk food, fill it in with something you want to add to your life and put that in. And we can let go. So the question really was, what are you going to let go? And so thank you for putting those in. And as we're letting those go, put something else in your life that can fill that space in a much more positive way. Thank you. And eating vegetables, reduce screen time, letting go of those things. Fill those in with things that bring you closer to the life you want, bring you closer to this center, to this balance, to this way of looking at your life, that this is holistic place of balance, that each element in your life impacts other things to show up your best more often. I love it. All of the things that you're saying, each one of them is beautiful. And again, nudging them and being kind to yourself as you get to know yourself and get to know how your mind can help you support your beautiful life. Thank you. So again, as we looked at looking at a vision board, I want to encourage you each to put a vision board together. Put a vision of your life that is inspiring to you, a vision of growth, a vision of the calmness that you want to feel. Find those pictures that bring you that sort of joy, that help you feel that way more often. I love what Maya Angelou has said, is that success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. To me, this alone is a beautiful purpose in life, is to show up each day in this manner. To understand that purpose isn't a destination, rather it's a practice that we can experience each sunrise. That's what we learned. That's what I've learned from the Blue Zone communities, that many of their practices that they've created bring their community together, that they have a morning gathering, that they have these ritual walks where they connect with one another. They have intergenerational family meals, long middays rests and reflections, and even weekly community volunteering, that they're reconnecting using their best self to give back to the community. Oftentimes, when we find ourselves below the line in a state of fear, which right now many of us have found ourselves in a state of fear with all that's going on in the world. Maybe we're watching too much news, or maybe we're watching any news at all right now to really bring us below the line. And how can we make a conscious decision to step above the line into a place of curiosity, into a place of gratefulness, so that we can start finding some mindful practices that we can create for our own lives and make meaning for ourselves and our families. As part of the Blue Zones that I loved and was seeing is that there are a lot of things that really work together, whether it's in our lives or we're supporting other people to do it. One of the things that I received from doing a more in-depth look into the Blue Zones is that we can uplift ourselves. Part of our role in living to be a ripe old age in purpose is to start with speaking kindly to ourselves, to start each morning with a positive thought, a positive interaction like those in the Blue Zones do. We try to nudge-worthy habits, that we test them out, that we build tiny habits that can point us towards our best selves, that we can pay attention to how we talk and how our self-talk fuels our energy, that we will ease into all of these things, that we can arrange our space and our schedule to eliminate the friction that we might have in other ways. Are there friction spots that show up and keep us from being our best that we could automate in some way? Could we create routines to avoid decision fatigue and make our lives flow just a little easier? Might we live in wholeness, that we notice how our words, meals, snacks, and habits impact our energy, and that we realize that all of our life contributes to that balance, that sense of centeredness, that sense of peace, and that the decisions we make every day either align with our best self or detract from it. That we can open our hearts to connection. So many of us were pretty comfortable maybe after COVID, being more isolated, maybe to ourselves. Maybe we got used to it. But we learned from the Blue Zones as a community is vitally important, that it's something that will help us in our longevity. It helps us with purpose. It helps us make good decisions to support the community, that we can invest in community with friendships and shared goals that will help us all as we have those accountability partners, that we team up, that we can find that it's fun to make change and to create new insights for each other, that we can begin to have more flow in our lives, that we can do more of what's enjoyable and repeatable, and that we can weave energy care into our everyday life, because we don't need a special occasion to feel our very best. And with those things, how can we shift the way we show up every day to start looking at our lives in a more purpose-oriented place of finding what makes us tick, finding what makes us and helps us to show up our very best more often? If you choose any of these, you can pick one of these and just start nudging it. in towards your best version of yourself. Start seeing yourself as that best version of yourself and show up more often. As you do, you will see your purpose start to coalesce. We sometimes think, and especially during COVID, that we are in a little world by ourselves, that we are lonely, that we're small, that we are just by ourselves, and that we can make our choices and live pretty quietly. But I think what we're all learning as things are shifting is that it's not an individual game, that we all impact each other, that what we do impacts others within the organization because we breathe the same air. We impact each other. When we're at our best, we lift others up with us. When we're at our worst, I know for me, I can bring others down with me in a shake of a stick. Maybe even less than that. Maybe just a look across the room. I know that I can shift somebody's energy just by a kind word or an uplifting thought. And I can also shift somebody's day with a critical comment that is not thoughtful. And so, how can we design our purpose, whether we have a purpose and we're living it out and want to enhance it by showing up our best, or whether we choose to focus on becoming our best so that we can find our purpose? Because I believe when we start to feel the way we want to feel more often and start doing those things that create that environment where we can be our best, then our world will start being a beautiful place filled with purpose and meaning for ourselves and all those who are lucky enough to be in our orbit. My purpose has become to simply show up my best more often. I do have a little 10-month-old grandson, and I want to show up my best for him, which means I am going to eat better. I'm going to exercise and keep my body a fine-tuned machine for as long as I can, because I'd love to be an old, wise woman that is connected to my grandchildren and helping them build a blue zone, even if it's just in my home, a place where we all live to be a ripe old age with meaning and purpose ingrained in everything in our lives. I don't vacuum the carpet. I don't sweep the floor. I beautify my home so that others can feel comfortable to open up and be their very best around me in my home and my property. This is where I get to live in Santa Cruz County. And this is where I've come to realize that all of us can be our best when we recognize our value, when we identify and amplify our own personal strengths, when we shape an above the line mindset, and we enjoy more of our journey. When we show up in this way for others, we impact the world, we add light to the world, we give others a reason to smile. That to me is purpose. That to me is a beautiful way of being. And so again, whether you have a purpose, you have a specific purpose in your life, or whether you're trying to find it, creating a mindset of showing up your best more often and taking care of this beautiful, magnificent body that each of us have that allows us to do so many masterful things, that I want each of you to experience that, to feel that peace, that joy, all of those things that you want to feel in your life. Because when you do, when you feel your best, you will give that light and that love to others much more often. And with that, I'm going to open it up for questions because I would love to hear from some of you. We have about 5 minutes. If there is any questions or anything that you might want to ask or comment. And I would certainly love to hear if any of you found any inspiration or anything that you'd like to maybe even take back to your families. Thank you. If anyone has a question, please feel free to put it in the chat or just take yourself off mute.
I can start by just saying my heart feels very full, and I feel like I was buoyed by everything that you shared. It was just wonderful. So I was focused on your suggestion to flow through life with daily energy care. And it was a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Really appreciate it, Elizabeth. Always love to be part of your work. I love to hear that I lifted anyone's spirit because truly it's enough purpose for me. Thank you.
We do have time if anyone else wants to share. Oh, there's a question.
Yes.
How long did it take you? Let's see, where was it?
Okay. How long did it take you to get the property in the condition you envisioned when you first started the project? Well, it's interesting because I will share that when I first looked at this property in 2004, the real estate agent wouldn't show it to me. He literally said, "You don't want it. It's too close to the freeway. It's just there's hardly any flat land. You just don't want it." And I saw something. I was drawn to it, and maybe it was the view, maybe it was the wildlife, maybe it was just the wide open spaces. There was never a huge vision for it, just little by little. And my life, I think, is the same. I don't know that I've ever had this huge long-term goal that I wanted to, become X. I've wanted to love my life since I was a little girl, to find those things that bring me joy, to find those things that bring other people joy, and to spend time doing that. And it's been a beautiful journey. The land is still in progress because I keep finding new areas that I get to beautify. And again, it's not yard work. It's hard work, but it's very fulfilling as I've brought my creative energy to that. My husband has recently said that he never thought he was a creative person, but that caring for the land has shown them that is his creativity. That is his creative gift to give back, to care for the land. Thank you.
You're a wonderful inspiration for us in regards to the purpose message.
I love it. Simplify your purpose. We tend to spend way too much time thinking it needs to be a grandiose big thing when really what it is just being. And now I finally understand it. So many people will say, "Oh, it's not what you do, it's who you are." And it's like, I don't get that. I finally get it because when we show up our best, everything is infused with that energy and that beauty. And I want that for all of you.
Thank you so much, Patty, and thank you all for joining us today. I hope that you might consider listening again to Patty's words of wisdom when the recording comes out. You will have the slides for reference. And grateful for all of you today, and certainly so much gratitude for you, Patty. Thank you.
Thank you to all of you. Really appreciate you and that you're doing this beautiful work. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.